Hi, it's Katrina! Abandoned tunnels are among the eeriest and most popular attractions for those looking for a thrill, or maybe even ghosts. From old railroad tunnels to disused subterranean train stations, here are 8 creepy abandoned tunnels. Number 8. The Burro Schmidt Tunnel. Located in Copper Mountain in the Mojave Desert's El Paso Range in California, the half-mile-long Burro Schmidt Tunnel was carved by hand starting in 1902 by William Burro H. Schmidt. He was a gold miner who needed a passage through the mountains to transport his ore. Schmidt spent 33 years digging through the solid rock using mostly hand tools and explosives. He referred to the tunnel as a shortcut, but was otherwise cryptic about his plans for it. He used a wheelbarrow to remove rubble, and the tunnel leads to an isolated ledge over 4,000 feet above sea level. Schmidt originally came to California from Rhode Island, where 6 of his siblings had died from tuberculosis, and he was hoping to improve his health. During the construction of his tunnel, he supported himself financially as a seasonal ranch hand rather than through his mining. He resumed his excavation of the tunnel every fall with the help of his burros, Jack and Jenny. Schmidt never transported any ore through his tunnel despite its purported purpose. He began hosting tours of the tunnel later in his life with the assistance of a man named Mike Lee. After Schmidt passed away in 1954, Lee continued the tours until his own death in 1963. This tunnel remains a symbol of the tough life of desert prospectors. The cabins nearby were later purchased by a couple who remained at the site until their death in 2003. Today, the tunnel remains open to the public. Have any of you visited it? Let me know in the comments below. Number 7. Dupont Circle Tunnels. In Washington, D.C., nearly a mile of deserted tunnels make up the abandoned underground trolley line known as the Dupont Underground. It's located underneath the busy streets of Dupont Circle and was built in 1949. In 1962, the trolley system was shut down and replaced with buses, as plans for the metro subway system were in the works. The Dupont Circle station was prepared as a potential fallout shelter in case Cold War tensions erupted into nuclear war between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. It retained this use until 1975, when the tunnels were permanently sealed off and abandoned. A developer purchased the abandoned tunnels from the city in 1995 and built a food court along the tracks known as Dupont Down Under. After just a few months, however, the food court was shut down due to numerous factors, including poor ventilation and lighting, employees who were miserable working in the dank and dark conditions, and the lack of customers attracted to a subterranean dining space. In late 2016, the 75,000 square foot station and its accompanying underground tunnels were reopened to the public. Since then, the station has been undergoing the process of being repurposed into an art space. The space is open to the public for tours. Would you go here? Number 6. The Clinton Railroad Tunnel. The now abandoned Clinton Railroad Tunnel was once the longest in Massachusetts. It was built during the early 1900s along the Nashua River for the Boston and Maine Railroad as part of a rerouting plan that came along with the construction of the Wachusett Reservoir. The 0.2-mile-long tunnel is located to the northeast of a reservoir and runs underneath a hill. Freight traffic along the route began dwindling during the 1930s, and both freight and passenger traffic ceased by the 1950s. The tunnel remains intact and is located in the forest along Route 62. It is now covered in graffiti and is known for its so-called infinite optical illusion, as the tunnel is said to appear as if it continues forever while you walk through it. Additionally, the tunnel is the rumored discovery site of a missing girl's body several decades ago, among other urban legends and stories linked to the site. It's recommended for those who traverse the tunnel to bring flashlights and wear waterproof boots. And if you plan to go at night, some recommend calling the police beforehand so they can make sure you emerge from your mission unscathed. Number 5. The Belmont Tunnel. The only rail tunnel in the entire state of Nebraska is located in the Pine Ridge area of Dawes County and is known as the Belmont Tunnel. Nebraska only ever had one rail tunnel because it is a mostly flat state and there was no need for more of them. The Belmont Tunnel was used between 1889 and 1982. It was abandoned when the Burlington Northern Railroad built a double-tracked open cut to the west of the tunnel and no longer needed it. At one time, the nearby town of Belmont had 28 buildings, including the rail depot, a pool hall, 2 stores, a saloon, a lumberyard, a grain elevator, and more. In 1950, the town reached its peak population of 60. The construction of the open-cut bypass led to the decline of the town. Today, Belmont is a ghost ghost town consisting of 2 abandoned houses and the Belmont School, which officially closed in 2009. People still visit the tunnel, which is located along a rough dirt road. Visitors are urged not to exceed 35 miles per hour while en route to the Belmont Tunnel due to the risk of fishtailing. Whatever the case, be careful if you go there. You never know what you might find. Number 4. The Moonville Tunnel. Once part of the Marietta-Cincinnati Railroad, the disused Moonville Tunnel is located in southeastern Ohio in the former mining town of Moonville. It cuts through a section of the Appalachian hillside and was built in 1856. Moonville was just one of hundreds of coal mining boom towns that once dotted the region. There were never more than 100 people residing within the town and its outer limits even during Moonville's prime in the mid-1800s. Only a few lonely abandoned houses and a stretch of railroad remained in Moonville by the 1950s. Today, the once rugged and twisting roads leading to the former town are overgrown, and trains no longer pass through the tunnel. It's hard to tell there was even a town there, minus the occasional remains of a building foundation, the old cemetery, or an old brick well. The legend of the ghost of Moonville stems from a head-on collision between 2 freight trains that occurred in 1880. An engineer and fireman were killed during the crash. Afterward, train engineers running along the route began seeing a ghastly white formation that disappeared as soon as they spotted it. There have been many eyewitness accounts of this strange light dashing around the tunnel like a lantern swinging back and forth. At the tunnel's far end, people have also felt a sudden chill. Some have even captured photos of an eerie apparition resembling the silhouette of a man wearing an engineer's hat. The area that Moonville once occupied is also rumored to be home to various other ghosts, many of whom were hit by trains, including an elderly woman who smells of lavender. Number 3. The Sensabaugh Tunnel. Deep along the winding, narrow back roads outside the city center of Kingsport, Tennessee, there's a tunnel set into what once was a hill. It's called the Sensabaugh Tunnel, and it was built during the 1920s, when the hill was blasted apart to make way for a road bend. The tunnel was paved so traffic could pass through it and acted as a support for tracks above it that were used by the Carolina, Clinchfield and Ohio, or CC&O, Railroad. The land it was built on was sold to the company by the Sensabaugh family, who lived in a nearby house and assisted with the construction. Stories about the tunnel's alleged hauntings began circulating during the 1960s and continue to this day. At first, teenagers who hung out near the tunnel's entrance talked of eerie noises, such as screaming and crying coming from within the structure. Not long after, rumors of a hobo kidnapping a baby from the Sensabaugh home began swirling. There was also another story about how Ed Sensabaugh, the head of the household, went crazy and murdered his family inside the tunnel. As if these legends weren't scary enough, a woman supposedly disappeared one night after her car broke down near the tunnel and she went to the Sensabaugh home seeking help. Rumor has it that if someone shuts their engine off inside of the tunnel, they'll hear shrieking, laughter, and terrified cries, and they may even catch a glimpse of a tall, dark figure with red eyes. Some even claim to have found tiny handprints on the outside of their car after driving through. No records exist of any murders ever having occurred within the tunnel or the Sensabaugh home, which still stands abandoned. However, it remains a popular attraction and a suspected paranormal hotspot for those hoping for a supernatural experience. Number 2. Twin Tunnels. The Twin Tunnels are a set of 3 tunnels passing beneath a set of railroad tracks in rural Chester County, Pennsylvania. One tunnel carries traffic, another is empty, and a tributary of the Brandywine Creek flows through the 3rd tunnel. The middle tunnel, which traffic passes through, is dark even during the day. Within the tunnel, there's a vertical air shaft from which a young unwed mother supposedly took her own life during the 19th century with her baby in her arms. According to local legend, if you enter the tunnel at night, you just might hear a baby crying. You may also see an apparition of a man who also met with a tragic self-imposed end from within the tunnel. Although the stories surrounding the twin tunnels may be partially folklore, they are the site of at least one confirmed terrifying discovery. In 1995, some hunters found a maroon suitcase in the creek nearby, sealed with duct tape and wrapped in a garbage bag. Inside was the dismembered torso of a woman who remains unidentified to this day. Number 1. Churchill Tunnel. The Churchill Tunnel is a sealed train tunnel underneath Jefferson Park in Richmond, Virginia. It was built in 1873 and was already considered obsolete when it was abandoned in 1902. The city of Richmond attempted to reclaim the 4,000-foot-long tunnel in 1925, but a 190-foot section of it collapsed while it was being worked on, as a 10-car locomotive was passing through. At least 2 workers died, while one managed to escape and survived. Legend has it that the workers had reawakened an ancient vampire vampire who lived inside the tunnel. The vampire caused it to collapse as revenge against the workers for disturbing him. Workers allegedly discovered him crouching over one of the victims, baring his bloody, jagged teeth. He reportedly fled the scene. Over the years, several attempts were made to recover the locomotive and the two bodies, but were impeded each time by sinkholes and additional collapses. The tunnel was eventually sealed off with sand and concrete and remains the final resting place of the train and the workers. Throughout the tunnel's lifespan, at least 9 people lost their lives to similar circumstances as the 2 men who were supposedly victimized by the vampire. This is because the tunnel was built among clay and soft sandstone and was therefore not structurally sound. Thanks for watching! Would you visit any of these tunnels? Do you believe they're haunted? Let me know in the comments below. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe and I'll see you soon. Bye!